Welcome to Rajya Sabha TV. A very good evening to all of you. My name is Aditi Nagpal-Kirotra. You're watching News Tonight, where we bring you news updates from India and around the world. Our top story in the broadcast. The Union Cabinet, chaired by Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Wednesday, took several landmark decisions. Take a look at the details.
Minister of State for Atomic Energy and Space Jitendra Singh said that a new institution known as the Indian National Space Promotion and Authorization Centre has been formed. It will guide the private industry in space activities through encouraging policies in a friendly regulatory environment.
और एक नई संस्था का गठन किया गया है, which will be known as Indian National Space Promotion and Authorization Centre. I repeat, Indian National Space Promotion and Authorization. When abbreviated, it would read as IN-Space. And it will provide a level playing field for private companies, the private participants to use Indian infrastructure. And it will also guide the private industries in space activities through encouraging policies and a friendly, regulatory environment.
The Union Cabinet also approved 15,000 crore rupee infrastructure fund to promote dairy, poultry and meat processing. Animal Husbandry Minister Giriraj Singh said that under this, the government will provide 3% interest subvention to eligible beneficiaries. The Cabinet has also approved a scheme for interest subvention of 2% to Shishu loan category borrowers under the Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana for outstanding as on 31st March 2020 for a period of 12 months to eligible borrowers.
देश में पहली बार हम प्राइवेट एंटरप्रेन्योर को इसमें ला रहे हैं और 3% इंटरेस्ट सबमिशन हम दे रहे हैं और एक तरह से कहें कि इस स्कीम में केवल 10% लाभार्थी को एंटरप्रेन्योर को अपना पूंजी लगेगा, 90% बैंक से फाइनेंस होगा.
Besides this, the Union Cabinet also approved additional investment by ONGC Videsh Limited for the development of blocks A1 and A3 blocks of Myanmar. Union Minister Prakash Javadekar also said that the deadline for OBC Commission to submit its report has been extended by 6 months. Javadekar also announced that the Union Cabinet had approved the declaration of Kushinagar Airport in Uttar Pradesh as an international airport. The Union Cabinet has also decided to bring government banks, including 1,482 urban cooperative banks and 58 multi-state cooperative banks, under the supervisory powers of Reserve Bank of India. Union Minister Prakash Javadekar said that RBI's powers as they apply to scheduled banks will apply for cooperative banks as well. He further said that this will give an assurance to more than 8.6 crore depositors in these banks that their money amounting to 4.84 lakh crore rupees will stay safe.
डिपॉजिटर को एक यकीन मिलेगा कि हमारा पैसा सुरक्षित रहेगा और 8 करोड़ 60 लाख खाता धारक है इन 1540 बैंकों में. 4 करोड़ 84 लाख करोड़ रुपए की बचत है, थोड़ी नहीं है.
Early green shoots of economic revival emerged in May and June. Stating this, the government has listed a series of indicators to show that measures to unlock the economy are bringing it back on track. Here are the details.
In a statement titled Increase in Economic Activity, Improvement in Economic Indicators, the Finance Ministry has listed 14 indicators like fuel and electricity consumption, freight loading, fertilizer sales, mobility and retail financial transactions to show that unlock measures are working. Stating that the agricultural sector remains the foundation of the economy, the Finance Ministry expects the forecast of a normal monsoon to support rebooting the economy. The government's wheat procurement has been a record 382 lakh metric tons as on 16th of June, surpassing an earlier record of 381 5.48 lakh metric tons in 2012-2013. The procurement benefited 42 lakh farmers who were paid 73,500 crore rupees. Kharif crop sowing saw a 39% increase in area, reaching 13.13 million hectares till 19th of June from the year earlier. Fertilizer sales surged 98% year-on-year in May 2020 to 40.02 lakh tons. In the manufacturing sector, the government said purchasing managers' indices for the manufacturing and services showed that contraction had slowed in May compared to April. It said electricity consumption contracted 24% in April, 15.2% in May and 12.5% in the first 3 weeks of June. By June 3rd week, the contraction was down to 6.2%. Consumption of petroleum products increased by 47% from 9.94 million metric tons in April to 14.65 million metric tons in May. In June, growth in consumption of petroleum products is expected to be still higher after 1 month of Unlock 1.0. The Finance Ministry said the resilience of the Indian manufacturing is evident from the fact that within 2 months, India has become the world's second largest manufacturer of personal protective equipment starting from scratch. In the services sector, railway freight traffic improved by 26% in May. That is 8.26 crore tons over April's 6.54 crore tons. The improvement is likely to continue in June, in sync with the growth in the movement of goods on national highways. The average daily electronic toll collections increased from 8.25 crore rupees in April to 36.84 crore rupees in May. Data showed that in the first 3 weeks of June, it had improved further to 49.8 crore rupees. Monetary indicators like forex reserves, average assets under management of mutual funds and private placement of corporate bonds are expected to rise further. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
In their first formal diplomatic meeting since the June 15th clash in Galwan Valley, India and China on Wednesday discussed ways to ease border tensions.
The 15th meeting of the Working Mechanism for Consultation and Coordination on India-China Border Affairs was held through video conference. The Indian delegation was led by Joint Secretary East Asia Naveen Srivastava. The Chinese side was led by Wu Jianghao, Director General of the Department of Boundary and Oceanic Affairs of the Chinese Foreign Ministry. During the meeting, the two sides discussed in detail the developments in the border areas, in particular the situation in eastern Ladakh. The Indian side conveyed its concerns on the recent developments in eastern Ladakh, including on the violent face-off in Galwan Valley area on the 15th of June that had resulted in casualties. In this regard, it was emphasized that both sides should strictly respect and observe the line of actual control. Recalling the conversation last week between External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar and his Chinese counterpart Wang Yi, both sides reaffirmed to sincerely implement the understanding on disengagement and de-escalation that was reached by the senior commanders during the meeting on the 6th of June. Both sides agreed that the implementation of this understanding must be done in accordance with bilateral agreements and protocols to help ensure peace and tranquility in border areas. Also, maintaining communication at diplomatic and military levels, including under the framework of WMCC, to resolve the existing situation peacefully was also agreed upon by both sides.
Army Chief General M.M. Narvane on Wednesday visited various forward areas in eastern Ladakh and took stock of the Army's combat preparedness in the region in the wake of the border standoff with China.
On the second day of his visit to Ladakh, General Narvane took stock of the Army's combat preparedness in 4 forward areas and interacted with soldiers deployed there, besides holding detailed deliberations with the ground commanders. He reviewed the overall security situation in the region with Northern Army Commander Lieutenant General Yogesh Kumar Joshi, Commander of the 14th Corps Lieutenant General Harinder Singh and other senior Army officials. The Chief of Army Staff also awarded commendation cards to soldiers who fought valiantly during the recent face-off with Chinese troops in the region. In a Twitter message, the army said General Narwane commended troops for their high morale and exhorted them to continue working with zeal and enthusiasm. On Tuesday, soon after arriving in Leh, the army chief had visited the army hospital there to meet the 18 soldiers injured in the clash in Galwan Valley on the 15th of June. The army chief's visit to Ladakh comes amid tensions at the border with China. The standoff that began in May deteriorated on the 15th of June when the Indian and Chinese troops clashed with each other, resulting in casualties on both sides. Following 3 rounds of major general level talks and a marathon meeting between senior commanders on the 22nd of June, both sides have agreed to disengage at all friction points in eastern Ladakh. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
The violent face-off between Indian and Chinese soldiers in the Galwan Valley of East Ladakh marked the culmination of events that started in May.
On 5th and 6th of May, scuffles at Pangyong Tso and at Nakula in North Sikkim saw soldiers of both sides being injured. After the clashes, both sides moved in additional troops. Thereafter, on 9th of May, in a heated confrontation between Indian and Chinese soldiers in North Sikkim's Nakula area, 4 Indian and 7 Chinese soldiers were injured. On 12th of May, Chinese military helicopters flew close to line of actual control. India sent in a fleet of Su-30 fighters and rushed additional troops to the site. On 21st of May, India refuted China's claim that Indian troops triggered the tensions. On the same day, the External Affairs Ministry said that Indian activities took place entirely on the Indian side of the LAC and that China was hindering India's normal patrols. 22nd of May saw Army Chief General Manoj Mukund Narwane making a low-key visit to Leh-based 14 Corps headquarters. Thereafter, on 26th of May, India's top military officers meet Prime Minister Narendra Modi. On 30th of May, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh informs that India and China are talking to each other at military and diplomatic levels. 2 days later, Beijing says the overall situation along the China-India border is stable and controllable. The following day, Major General rank officers hold deliberations. The talks are followed up on 6th of June when top military leaders of both sides hold talks to de-escalate situation. On 13th of June, Army Chief General Narwane says the situation along the borders is under control. This is followed by army delegations of both nations holding discussions on 15th of June. A day later, on 16th of June, violent face-off is reported between the troops of both sides in Galwan Valley in Ladakh. 20 Indian soldiers are killed. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Defence Minister Rajnath Singh on Wednesday attended the Victory Day parade at Red Square in Moscow, Russia, on the occasion of the 75th anniversary of Soviet victory over Nazi Germany.
Rajnath Singh said the participation of the tri-service contingent of the Indian Armed Forces in the Victory Parade gave an immense sense of pride. A 75-member tri-service contingent of the Indian Armed Forces walked down the Red Square in Moscow as Russia celebrated Victory Day to mark the end of Second World War in 1945. Indian personnel marched alongside military personnel from 11 countries in their bright, crisp uniforms. Russia had postponed the military parade, which is traditionally held at Moscow's Red Square on the 9th of May due to the coronavirus pandemic.
India recorded yet another single-day highest spike of COVID-19 cases. It was also the 5th day in a row when the country registered over 14,000 cases. Senior Trinamool MLA Tamanash Ghosh, who tested positive for the virus in May, passed away. He was 60 years old. Ghosh is the second legislator to succumb to the disease.
A record 15,968 coronavirus cases were reported in the past 24 hours, taking the total case count in India past 4.5 lakh. The death toll has gone up to 14,476, even as the virus claimed 465 lives in 24 hours. Over 2.58 lakh people have recovered so far. There are 1.83 lakh active cases in the country, with the recovery rate improving to 56.7%. More than 60% cases are being reported from hotspots of Maharashtra, Delhi and Tamil Nadu. Maharashtra has the highest number of cases at 1.39 lakh, followed by Delhi and Tamil Nadu. In Delhi, cases are growing at the fastest rate among the top 10 states. Due to an increase in testing, Telangana is now reporting approximately 875 cases a day on an average. In the last 1 week itself, the state discovered almost 3,500 cases, which is more than 40% of its entire case load till now. Medical research body ICMR has validated the 1,000th testing laboratory for COVID-19. Out of these 1,000 COVID-19 testing laboratories, 730 are in government setups and 270 laboratories are in the private sector. The number of tests crossed 73 lakh on Tuesday, with over 2.15 lakh samples tested yesterday. India is now testing around 2 lakh samples every day. Expanding the testing criterion for coronavirus, ICMR has revised its COVID-19 strategy to include all symptomatic individuals in every part of the country. It was earlier restricted to people in hospitals, containment zones and hotspots, along with frontline workers and international travelers. India reported the first case of COVID-19 on 30th of January. It took 98 days for COVID-19 infections to rise from 1 to 50,000. The next 50,000 cases were added in 12 days, taking the number of infections to over 1 lakh on 19th of May. In a sign of increase in the pace at which cases are getting added, the third lot of 50,000 cases came in just 8 days on 27th of May. Infections rose by 50,000 more cases in the next 7 days on 3rd of June. The country added 50,000 cases in the next 5 days on 8th of June. By 13th of June, cases had increased from 2,50,000 to 3 lakh. Another 50,000 cases were added in the next 4 days by 17th of June, while cases jumped to 4 lakh in 3 days on 20th of June. In the following 3 days, cases have crossed 4.5 lakh. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
With COVID-19 cases crossing 70,000, the Delhi government has come up with a new strategy to contain the spread of infection.
The government is screening all houses in containment zones by 30th of June. It will screen all houses by 6th of July. Sero survey will also be conducted from 27th of June and the findings will be released on 10th of July. An order has also been issued for posting senior nursing officers at 68 private hospitals to monitor admission of COVID-19 patients. Meanwhile, Delhi Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia has written to Home Minister Amit Shah to scrap the new system requiring every COVID-19 patient to visit a government-run center for clinical assessment.
एलजी साहब के इस आदेश की वजह से आज हर व्यक्ति को, चाहे उसके घर में व्यवस्था है या नहीं है, उसको हॉस्पिटल जाना है या नहीं जाना, हर व्यक्ति को क्वारंटीन सेंटर जाना लाजमी हो गया है. इसकी वजह से प्रशासन और मेडिकल सिस्टम का भी बोझ बढ़ गया है. आज दिल्ली के लोगों को कोरोना की वजह से कम परेशानी किस चीज से होगी? कोरोना अपने आप में बहुत बड़ी परेशानी है, लेकिन किसी व्यक्ति को कोरोना हो तो फिर उसको कम से कम परेशानी किस व्यवस्था से होगी? हमको वो व्यवस्था लागू करनी चाहिए. हम ऐसी व्यवस्था लागू ना करें जिससे सारा का सारा सिस्टम भी चरमरा जाए और ऊपर से लोग भी हाहाकार करने लगे.
The All India Institute of Medical Sciences, Delhi, will restart outpatient department services from Thursday.
To begin with, the OPDs will be open only for old and follow-up patients. Only 15 patients per OPD will be allowed in a day for any department. No evening specialty clinic will be open in the first phase. Appointments will be given online. An AIIMS statement said it will be the prerogative of the departments to call patients directly or screen them through teleconsultation before giving a physical appointment. Departments like medicine and dermatology that are managing well through telemedicine will continue doing so. In April, the hospital started teleconsultation facility for follow-up cases for which appointments have to be sought online. Also, a screening area has been set up to identify and segregate patients having symptoms of influenza-like illness and COVID-19 before they are referred to the OPD department.
Wearing face masks, following social distancing and other safety measures, countries all over the world are gradually emerging from life under lockdown.
On Tuesday, Britain announced relaxation of social distancing rules, allowing most businesses to reopen from July 4th. Relaxations include reopening of pubs, restaurants, hairdressers, places of worship and libraries, among others. The changes will also allow people from two households to meet in any setting, while all schools will reopen in September. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson urged people to go out and socialise while cautioning them to act responsibly. Russia also began a new phase of loosened restrictions on Tuesday. Fitness clubs, pools, stationary cafes and restaurants reopened. On Wednesday, a kindergarten in Bangkok rehearsed preventive measures to prevent the spread of the novel coronavirus ahead of schools reopening on July 1st. From the same day, Malaysia will allow cinemas and theatres to reopen, while Singapore will head to the polls on July 10th amid new safety measures. Meanwhile, over a dozen experimental vaccines are being trialled around the world. On Tuesday, the first healthy volunteer received a coronavirus vaccine developed by the Imperial College London researchers. In the initial stage, 15 healthy volunteers will receive the vaccine, and subsequently the number will be increased to 300 participants in the coming weeks. If the result of the trials are promising, larger trials would be planned for later in the year. It is the second such trial in the UK. The first candidate vaccine that went for human trial was from Oxford University. On Wednesday, Brazil began clinical trials of the candidate vaccine developed by Oxford University. Around 5,000 health professionals are being vaccinated. China's inactivated COVID-19 vaccine has entered the Phase 3 clinical trial in the United Arab Emirates. The vaccine, developed by the Wuhan Institute of Biological Products, has shown promising results in terms of both safety and efficacy in the first two phases of clinical trials. Russia has also started clinical trials of an experimental coronavirus vaccine. The trial is being conducted on two groups of volunteers involving 38 people each. Meanwhile, new clusters of coronavirus cases have been reported from some nations, indicating a second wave of the virus. China on Tuesday reported 12 new COVID-19 cases, bringing the overall confirmed cases in the mainland to 83,430. China has conducted over 90 million nucleic acid tests since the virus outbreak. A residential area in the German town of Werl has been sealed off and its residents put under mandatory quarantine following a virus outbreak at a nearby meat plant. For the coming weeks, movement of people in public places has been restricted, while museums, cinemas, indoor swimming pools and bars will remain closed in the entire district. On Tuesday, the Gütersloh district was placed under lockdown until June 30th. On Wednesday, Tokyo confirmed 55 new coronavirus cases, including new clusters reported from workplaces. Japan lifted a state of emergency on May 25th, allowing businesses to resume functioning. Globally, the novel coronavirus infections have crossed over 9.3 million, with over 4,80,000 deaths so far.
3 new municipal mayors took charge in Delhi on Wednesday after they were elected by sitting councillors.
3 new municipal mayors took charge in Delhi on Wednesday after they were elected by the sitting councillors. In the elections that were held at the MCD Civic Centre, BJP candidates bagged all the 3 top posts. Jay Prakash was elected the mayor of North Delhi Municipal Corporation, or the NDMC. Anamika Mithilesh of South Delhi Municipal Corporation and Nirmal Jain of East Delhi Municipal Corporation. The polls were delayed this year due to coronavirus pandemic. The 5-year mayoral term sees 5 single-year terms on a rotation basis. Polls are also held for the position of deputy mayor in all the 3 local bodies. Ritu Goyal was elected deputy mayor of NDMC, while Subhash Badhana bagged the post in SDMC and Hari Prakash Bahadur in the EDMC.
With conditions becoming favourable for advancement of southwest monsoon in the northern part of the country, it is likely to reach Delhi NCR by Thursday and bring respite from the sweltering heat.
While moderate to heavy rains lashed many parts of the national capital region on Wednesday, Gurugram, Faridabad, Noida and other areas are likely to receive more rainfall in the next 24 hours. Light to moderate rainfall is also expected over western Himalayan region and Punjab, Haryana, Chandigarh, Uttar Pradesh and East Rajasthan in the next 48 hours.
पूर्वी राजस्थान तक काफ़ी वर्षा मिल चुकी है आपको और कहते हैं साथ साथ आपका पूरा उत्तराखंड और हिमाचल प्रदेश में आपको वर्षा मिल चुकी है और उसके साथ साथ आपके पंजाब के कुछ हिस्सों में वर्षा मिल गई है। हाँ, पर यही रहा कि दिल्ली में जो है वर्षा जो चूंकि हम मॉनसून को डिक्लेयर करने के लिए सुबह आज 8:30 बजे तक की वर्षा को लेते हैं, तो 8:30 बजे तक दिल्ली में वर्षा नहीं आई थी। हालांकि उसके बाद में उसमें दिल्ली में भी कुछ हिस्सों में वर्षा मिली।
Heavy to very heavy rainfall is likely to continue over northeast India, sub-Himalayan West Bengal, Sikkim, Assam, Meghalaya and Bihar during the next 4-5 days. Meanwhile, 99 villages have been affected by floods caused by incessant rainfall across 4 districts in Assam. 1 person has been reported dead while over 36,000 people have been affected. 17 relief camps and 28 distribution centers have been set up where over 1,000 people have taken shelter. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
The 35th anniversary of the bombing of Air India Flight 182 was marked on Tuesday with a virtual vigil amid COVID-19 related restrictions.
On 23rd of June 1985, a mid-air explosion ended Kanishka Flight 182's journey from Montreal to Delhi off the Irish coast. Vancouver-based Khalistani radicals had bombed the plane allegedly to avenge Indian Army action at the Golden Temple in June 1984. All 329 people on board were killed. Canada recognizes 23rd of June as the National Day of Remembrance for victims of terrorism. The terrorist incident is the worst in Canadian history and the worst episode of aviation-related terrorism till 9/11. Only 1 person was jailed for the disaster while 2 other accused were acquitted. In a message, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said, and I quote him now, 35 years ago today, an explosion on Air India Flight 182 bound for the United Kingdom from Canada killed the 329 innocent people on board, including 280 Canadians. The attack was an act of unspeakable malice and remains the deadliest terrorist attack in Canadian history. It was a shock to our country and a threat to our collective sense of security. Trudeau's message was among those posted on a special YouTube channel created by family members to honor their departed kin. There are 4 memorials to the tragedy in Canada, in Toronto, Vancouver, Ottawa and Montreal.
The bombing remains the worst encounter with terrorism Canada has experienced, one of the worst in the world. This was a Canadian tragedy. This was a British tragedy. This was an Irish tragedy. This was an Indian tragedy. It was a global tragedy.
And with this, it's a wrap on this edition of News Tonight. Thank you so much for joining us.